Hello and welcome to Spotlight Indie. I'm your host, Frasier Armitage, part-time robot, full-time nerd, author of Cage of Stars, among loads of other things. And joining me as co-host today is the astounding Alex S. Bradshaw. Alex, astound us. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing so terribly. I thought that would be astounding because that's not how I am. That's not how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very good to be back. Doing some co-hosting to be with you and with. We've just discussed the pronunciation, NC Scrimgeour. I'm very excited to be here on this pre-recorded panel, or quick Q&A. So yeah, good. That's my astounding thing, was to try and sort of sucker punch you with I'm not actually doing very well, when in reality I am doing very well.
I am astounded that you would even attempt that. But
there you go.
And the other thing that's astounding is that Alex has mentioned our guest, because our guest is an indie legend. She's the author of the Way Stations trilogy and the Sea of Souls saga. It is the Scottish siren that is NC Scrimgeour. So, Nick, how are you doing?
Oh, an intro. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing great. Really excited to be here and just to get to chat all things sort of indie writing, sci-fi, fantasy, the whole shop.
The whole shebang is great. We cannot wait to pick your brains. I see you everywhere on social media, and it's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your journey into the indie sphere, because I know that people will have heard this story before, but just for anybody who's new to it, I think your origin story is awesome for indie writers.
Yeah, so I actually started off going down the trad route, which I think probably a lot of people do. I mean, I suppose the dream when you're starting out writing is you always want to kind of see your book on bookshelves and bookshops and that sort of thing. So I started writing what is now basically Sea of Souls, but this was back in 2016, so it was a long time ago, and it was a very different book to what it is now. But that was basically my first book that I wrote, and I kind of just ended up going on a whirlwind sort of process, because I wrote the whole thing in about 6 months. Spent a couple of months editing, and then just started sending out queries sort of straight away, and doing it with not very much knowledge, because at that time I wasn't really even on kind of social media in a sort of writer sense, only kind of personal social media, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of did a little bit of research, started popping out queries, and then less than 6 months later I got an agent. So it all just seemed to happen like a dream, like I should want it to when you're starting out. And yeah, so I got an agent with that first book, and I suppose in my mind I was like, right, well, this is great. I've got an agent. That's it. It's only a matter of time now before publishers pick this up and it's on the shelves. And in terms of origin stories, sadly, it doesn't always sort of pan out like that. So unfortunately, Sea of Souls didn't sell. I then, when I was still with my agent, wrote what was the first book in the Way Stations trilogy. We put that on submission as well. Didn't get picked up either. And then a little thing called COVID hit. And during that time, I just saw so many people kind of turning hobbies into sort of side hustles, or, trying to do something with their own personal stuff. And at that stage, I kind of been with my agent for a while. We put a few books out on submission, didn't feel it was really going anywhere. And I just kind of felt like, right, let's change tracks here. Obviously, it started to sort of learn about the whole world of self-publishing and people doing really well in that sphere. So just decided, why not take the chance? And never really looked back since. So it's 2021, released the first book, self-publishing. So now, 4 years down the line, very happy with the choice, happy how it's all gone. And I suppose that's my indie origin story.
I absolutely love it, because it's like you've got that offer of trad, you think it's going down one route, and then something happens in your life and you think, no, actually, I'm going to take control of this. I'm going to put the books out. What was the difference in your experience between where you'd got up to with the trad experience, and then all of a sudden you've got everything to do as an indie? Was it kind of like being thrown into the deep end for you, going back to 2021?
A little bit, but also I felt a lot just more in control. Like with the kind of going down the trad side, there's just so much waiting. And none of it is in your hands. You can't control any of it. And you just feel like, every email you get, you're kind of looking to see, is this going to be the time something happens? And you can go kind of just months without any progress or any update at all. And I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I quite like to, like have things organized, have a plan for what's happening, and going down that is just so out of your hands. There's nothing you can do. I mean, we all know stories, like there's some incredible stories out there that never get picked up in the traditional sense. Like there's nothing that you can really do to affect it. So I think making the switch to self-publishing, yeah, there's a lot more that you have to do for yourself, but in a way I kind of like that. I kind of like just having that control and being able to progress things at the time I want to progress them. So yeah, that's probably the biggest change for me.
And I love that you've been able to be in control of these two very different worlds that you've created, that you haven't sort of had to be pigeonholed and somebody saying, well, we need more books like this. It's like you've got massive space opera on one side of it, and then you've got Scottish folkloric fantasy on the other. How much fun is it playing in both of those worlds?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't want to ever be sort of just constrained to doing one thing. And I think a lot of writers are probably the same. Like you just have so many ideas and you don't want to be kind of confined into one space. And I suppose growing up as a kind of fan of fantasy and sci-fi, whether that's books or films or TV shows or games or whatever, I've always enjoyed both those genres. So, and I think a lot of the time there is crossover with readers. If you're a reader of sci-fi, there's probably fantasy you like, and vice versa as well. So for me, it wasn't so much like two very distinct, different genres, but there's some overlap, especially with my sci-fi. I'm not going to pretend I write hard sci-fi. Like it's very sort of soft. There's like, I don't really try and get down into the sort of technical details. So it's probably, I think a fantasy reader would probably enjoy my sci-fi in that sense.
Yeah, totally. You don't need a technical schematic. It's all good. It's fine. It's all good. I feel like I'm intimidated if I open a book and it's too hard sci-fi. I'm like straight away. I'm like, oh, I need a PhD. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great what you're doing. And what lessons have you learned as a writer between sort of like exploring the sci-fi side and the fantasy side? Is there so much crossover that it's like writing the same thing, or are there different skills you have to acquire to be able to write in one genre and then the other?
A little bit to an extent. So I think with my writing for way stations, it's a lot, I don't really know the way to describe it, but it's a lot more kind of, I suppose, like direct and to the point. Like some people kind of describe my writing as like quite sort of cinematic. So I kind of like to sort of build that picture. But when I moved to Sea of Souls and this was more kind of folklore fantasy, I leaned more into the sort of prose. So I think Sea of Souls is a lot more like lyrical. I kind of do more with the language, whereas with Way Stations, I feel it's just kind of cleaner, just more to the point, direct. I'm not going to get as sort of flowery and introspective in that as I did with Sea of Souls. So I think that's probably the main difference for me between the two genres. And I think it was deliberate to an extent, but also just for me what felt natural in terms of writing that suited each of them.
Yeah, it's not often you're on a spaceship with all of that training of like being out in deep space, pondering sort of like the inner workings of the soul. You're just like, is this working? Is this button okay? What's that red flashing light? Like it's very different, right?
Yeah.
But no, has it been fun kind of going into your Scottish roots with Sea of Souls?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first said the first version of this book that I wrote, it was very deliberately like I wanted to do a fantasy book, but I wanted to do a fantasy book that kind of drew on kind of Scottish folklore mythology. I think there's just so many sort of stories and creatures that are very underrepresented. It's not your usual elves, dwarves, dragons, that kind of thing. So just getting to sort of dig into that and take those bits from folklore, but then add my own sort of like lore and twists to it was really, really fun because, it's just like taking something old and then sort of doing your own thing with it, which I found really exciting.
That's cool. All of the folklore that you looked at for it, when you were doing your research for the books, did you come across new folklore that you didn't know? And was it with like mind blowing, or was it are the stories that you're drawing from so familiar to you that it's kind of like second nature?
Yeah. So the main, I suppose, aspect to the story is Selkies, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's kind of the myth about people that are to kind of take a seal form in the water and then come onto land, they can kind of shed their skin and they appear as humans. And normally how the myth goes, it's usually a female Selkie that comes to shore and a guy steals her pelt and then she can't return to the water. So the whole myth's kind of about that sort of like freedom and needing to be where you belong and being sort of prevented from that. So that was already familiar to me, and I kind of knew that was the kind of core of the story that I wanted to tell. But I didn't want that to be the only thing, so I did start digging around into bits of Scottish folklore that I wasn't as familiar with. So ended up like finding all these different creatures. Like there's the Kieran Cruin, which is like this huge ancient sea serpent, and there's like really fun little stories about that. It disguises itself like as a little fish and then just like eats sailors' boats whole. And then there's the Kushi, which is like a kind of demon hound thing. And if you hear its howl like 3 times, you'll be sort of paralyzed by fear and then it'll come and get you. So there was lots that I didn't know that was fun to dive into, and have little references to them in the book, whether they play a small part or a big part, but just kind of making that world feel a bit more fleshed out.
I love it. I love it. For anybody who is familiar with our shows and our Alex as being co-host, you will be entirely familiar that Alex is a fan of creatures, usually great rather than small. You can see by his jumper, he's the dinosaur king. I want to know, Alex, Selkie versus dinosaur, who wins?
I mean, I feel like as Nick has, mentioned and outlined the myth, like what's the terrain? If they're in the water, that I feel like a T-Rex paddling after a Selkie in its pelt probably isn't going to go too well, just doggy paddling away. But maybe if it's a Selkie on land, especially in the pelt, then maybe the dinosaur does win that one, and maybe outside the pelt as well, unless she can get in a car or they can get in a car. It doesn't have to be, So I feel like in the water that the Selkie has the advantage, but I'll throw that over to Nick as well. Like,
I think that's fair.
Well, that's an interesting point, though. Like, if a Selkie were to get in a car, would they know how to drive, Nick?
Suppose we're talking, my kind of books are sort of set in a, suppose, fictional golden age of piracy sort of era. But if they're modern day Selkies, imagine they would know, or would be good for them to learn how to drive. So,
would a Selkie pelt fit in a glove box? That I just wonder if that's a good way to keep it with you, just driving around, put it in the glove box.
In my kind of lore, there's almost sort of like cloaks or sort of tunics that they end up wearing, so I don't think that would fit in a glove box. Put
it in the boot. Yeah. This is where we secretly out you as being a Selkie, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, just behind me, right?
Yeah. This is all autobiographical what you're writing. Yeah. Now, in Sea of Souls, obviously you talk about like the lyrical quality to what you've put in there. That style of writing, is that something that you always wanted to put into your work as a writer? Like, was that important for you to find that voice as a writer, or is it something that you've just kind of like fallen into because that was the nature of the story?
I think, I've always written sort of like stories kind of growing up, as like from being a kid all the way up, and I did always, if you saw the kind of stuff I wrote in high school, you would call it like purple prose. Like I always did like to lean into the kind of, very over the top descriptions and stuff. Obviously have learned to pare that back as I've grown as a writer, but I think there is just something, writing for like the plot or for the purposes of the story, but then sometimes nice just to write for writing's sake and like get sort of pretty sentences out. So I'll always try never to go overboard, but I think there is always something that is going to draw me to that kind of style as well.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's something that most writers have to try and keep in its place, right? Because it's like like you say, the purple prose is always there.
It's a very hard temptation to resist.
Yeah,
I'm quite a strict like self-editor as well, so when I go back I will just be like, no, you've taken this too far. Like, let's pare this back.
That's what I was going to ask you about. I was going to ask you about how much in your Sea of Souls saga you've had to sort of like delete, because I imagine what's left over is like what's necessary, but that you've probably got like 6 books worth of prose that is beautiful to read in and of itself, but isn't serving the book. It's like, did you have to get rid of a lot?
So I'm one of those kind of rare breeds, I think, from what I hear, that I sort of edit as I go. So my final draft doesn't really change that much from my first draft in terms of like big picture stuff. I'll always kind of cut words, and I end up probably cutting about 10,000 words in terms of like line edits and trimming that down. But it's very rare that I'll write and I'll like lose a whole scene or a whole chapter or a whole character or something. Like, usually if that's going to change, it'll happen as I'm writing. So yeah, mostly when I get to the end and I'm going back and doing edits, it's really just kind of getting rid of the sort of trimming the fat sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that. That's a very good skill to have. Writing is editing as you write. Yeah. If you had all of the knowledge that you have now when you went back to 2021 and you were starting this journey, what do you think would be the most useful thing for Nick in 2021 to have known sort of before sort of embarking on it, do you think?
Yeah, from a writing point of view, definitely just the value in having a kind of structure and an outline. I used to be a lot more sort of just write and see where it goes. And I think that works to an extent, but for me personally, I would just then sort of start meandering, and I wouldn't really have that focus on sort of the pacing. And I mean, even if like some of the early reviews for like the first Way Stations book, there's a lot to say about the kind of structure, and it's a bit like this like it's a bit all over the place. So I think that I've done a lot more sort of kind of research and trying to learn about structure. And although I don't like necessarily stick to an absolutely rigid plan, I always now write with an ending in mind. So I know how a book's going to finish before I start writing it, and then everything that I do can be kind of like through the lens of getting to that point, which I just help focus a lot more when I know where it's going.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, are you the same, Alex? When you're writing, do you write to an end point?
I try. I sort of I have these big splats of story that I kind of aim for, and then if I don't know where the ending's going, then I find that I meander or get stuck a lot more. So I think that is a very good thing, is to know where you're ending up, so that you like I've got to sort of towards the end of what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm realizing I didn't quite know where it was going to end. So now I've got like a few chapters where I'm like, well, this has changed now, so I'm going to have to. I'm not like in final draft mode, so it's not going to be too painful. But yeah, I've still got these like big lumpy chapters where I'm like, right, that one's no good to me anymore, because I didn't know exactly where that character was going to be. So I think it's a good skill to have if you can know where you're going to end, because it just helps you avoid those little detours that don't serve the story.
Yeah, and then there's still like the flexibility as well, like you said, if things change, that you can kind of move things around. Like I've still had, in the process of writing, I've had characters that I thought were going to die that ended up surviving, and vice versa, or a character that I didn't think I had any more use for, and then suddenly I'm like, no, actually they should come back. So I never have it so rigid that like I can't make changes, but it's just nice to have that focus.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was thinking back to sort of like when I first started writing, and how my goal was basically to produce a book. And now, sort of having produced lots of them, it's like the goals are constantly shifting. And that's the nature of writing, right? And when you started out on this, the goals that you have now, what kind of goals are you sort of aiming for now? Because you've got these massively successful, awesome series. It's like, where are you going next, Nick, with your writing journey?
It's quite a hard one, because, like I said, when I started out, it was always like the goal was to see my book in a bookshop, and I've been very lucky that like some indie bookshops have stocked sort of Way Stations and Sea of Souls, and to be able to see that is just like amazing. So that is kind of a dream come true in a sense as well. I suppose making that switch from trad to indie, you kind of sort of reevaluate and is like, what does kind of success look for me now? But even that changes on a book by book basis, because as soon as you do something and something starts going well, like with Way Stations, the first book ended up coming runner up in the self-published science fiction competition, which was absolutely amazing, and that kind of gave them a boost. But then like you're just then constantly like chasing, like, can I do better? Then can my next series do better? Can my next series do better? And I mean, I'm very grateful for the amount of kind of support and love that these books have got so far. But I think by human nature, you're just kind of greedy. You just want more. You just want to keep writing. For me as well, just trying new things. So my next book is actually just going to be another complete departure. It's kind of like a gothic horror sort of thing. I guess for me going forward, I like just to keep trying new things and just keep it out there and hoping that people enjoy it. So
yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
I guess that's the good thing about having moved to indie as well, or going down that route instead, is that the trad, probably they would have asked you for the next book, or even if you finished that series, like the same things, they would have asked you just purely for the sci-fi if they picked up the sci-fi. So you have the freedom to do all this stuff, like do whatever you like next. So the gothic horror is completely within your remit.
Yeah, and I think that it broadens, for me personally, I think it just broadens me as a writer as well, like being able to go from like sci-fi to fantasy to horror to whatever might be next. Like you said earlier, there's slightly different sort of skills or tones or methods that you use, and I think just being able to do that across a wide breadth is only going to help improve my writing more. So that's the plan anyway.
You don't just want to be the master of two subgenres, you want them all. Just like yeah. We're gonna be able to sort of mine your brain in a slightly different way now as we play our signature game, which is Roll for Insight. For anybody who's watching this for the first time and doesn't know what Roll for Insight is, Alex, would you please run through the rules?
Absolutely. So we have a list of 20 questions that we are going to ask, and as there's 20 questions, they fit neatly corresponding to sides on a 20-sided dice. So what we will ask Nick to do, and everybody who's playing to do, is to roll a 20-sided dice, and then we'll get a random number, and that will correspond to a question, and we'll have to answer that question. So just a nice little fun way to do a Q&A.
And the questions roll from the ridiculous to the ridiculously ridiculous. So we will, it is basically the dice decides our destinies here, Nick. So you've got to be brave to roll. Are you ready to roll?
I am ready, yeah.
Give us your first roll.
Okay, I'm going to just do the wee thing on my phone. And first up is a 9.
Number 9. Okay. This is a revealing question.
Okay.
What's your favorite drink to order at a bar and why?
Is it a cop out to say it just depends on the mood? So I could list off a lot here. I would say I like a little Prosecco, I like a wee cheeky Prosecco, a little bit of bubbly to get the night started, but I'm also partial to a cocktail as well, like a French martini. And then if we're talking dinner, then a nice glass of rosé. So
do you know what? I'm so impressed that you've steered clear of the whiskey. Your fellow Scots are going to be like, the single malts. Like,
I am a bit of a traitor to my country. I feel I am not a whiskey girl. Although I've been on a couple work nights out where apparently my alter ego comes out and sometimes does order whiskey, and then it goes very much downhill from there. So
there's a big difference between sort of like your 18-year-old single malt, strength whiskey and your Prosecco to start the evening. There's a world of difference there, right? That's like,
and if you're starting off on the 18-year-old single malt, then that's going to be some kind of night.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? When you go into a bar, what's your tipple of choice?
Usually, if I'm just picking something that's to carry you through the night, maybe just a few ciders here and there, because that's you can have. They can be very lovely and just not anything too powerful to start you off with. But I also enjoy ordering a Cuban, which we had like at home in like the spoons at home. So it was really high class stuff. The weather spoons at home. And my friend introduced me to this drink, a Cuban, which is spiced rum, like a bit of lime and like Coke, and it's very lovely. But it was one of those ones that I went away to university and then ordered a Cuban, and they all just looked at me like I was mad. I was like, okay, this doesn't exist outside of that very particular Wetherspoons. I see. So I've stopped ordering that, and I order the component parts now. But it's still, if I'm feeling brave, I'll just like a Cuban and see what they give me. And yeah.
I would love them to just like hand you a picture of Fidel Castro and be like, "There you go, that's your Cuban for the night."
I couldn't even be mad. Like, yeah, no, that is what I ordered. Yeah, fair enough. What about yourself, Fraser?
I think I might have said this before on the channel, but for me, it's apple juice, and the reason is because I love to see the expression of the bartender go, "Apple juice!" Like I just love that moment so much.
Not
I would never
orange juice, like apple juice.
Yeah, because they always are like, "Do you mean cider?" It's like, no, apple juice. It's like they can't get their head around it. It's amazing. It's like I bamboozle them.
I kind of want to try that now. Like, just to see.
Yeah, it's great. Out of everything I've ever ordered at the bar, that's the one that's got the most visceral reaction. So, like, if I find something that can top it, my nan used to order tomato juice with a bit of Liam Perrins in it. And to this day, like, it amazes me that she got it. Because, like, that's not a drink. That's a soup, right? Like,
yeah. But then
it's like a Bloody Mary without the vodka.
It's not too far away from Bloody Mary.
Yeah. But nah, I mean, what's the point of having a Bloody Mary without the fun bits? It's like
it's just the man who's ordering apple juice.
Yeah. Alex, it's your role.
Okay, let's see. Oh, a 10, climbing up very slowly.
Okay, a 10 is, what animal companion would you choose for your fantasy adventure? I think maybe a little griffin or something. That would like a little sort of shoulder-sized griffin. Maybe that would be helpful. You know, I feel like that could have like a dog-like qualities to it, so that'll be quite fun. And I'm assuming it has to be, not has to be fantasy-esque, but like I don't know, like an owl griffin, so it's very quiet. I think that would be a nice one. Not much chatter, I think, between you and a griffin, though. I feel like there's only so much banter that can go on.
No, but then if it is an owl one, then maybe like it's got the the sassy look, but it can do that at like 360 degrees, so you can't even like make faces at it behind it. It's just going to turn around and catch you.
What about you, Nick? What would your animal companion of choice be?
Yeah, I feel if I say like a seal, that's just kind of cheating and leaning too much. I've always liked like birds of prey, like hawks and falcons and that. So I think that would be a pretty cool animal companion. Send them off to send messages and spy on all my enemies. Not that I have enemies, but if I did.
Yeah. I feel like your animal companions would make very good friends. I feel like they'd be quite, between the griffin and the hawk. That would actually be a great book title, The Griffin and the Hawk. Just spitballing.
Yeah. Next one on the list.
Yeah. You guys have chosen animals that you would have to carry. Like I feel like if you're going on a fantasy adventure, you want someone to carry you. Mm.
So
I mean, I would still go with a Pikachu, just because like easy to carry when they're in the Pokeball, like always happy to chat. And yeah, if you run into anything, it's kind of useful. See, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Pikachu.
You just got to make sure he's on side, otherwise it's a very electrifying journey for you.
Yes, it is. Yeah, thank you, Alex, for that. That's roll 3. Here we go. I also think that gives you a lot of scope. I think the animals that we've chosen, there's a lot. There's more scope for you guys than there is for mine. I think yeah. Unless there's been like a power outage, mine is not as useful as yours that can fly and spy, and turn heads 360 degrees. I think you chose well. Yeah. I have rolled an 11.
We really are.
We're really just going up in the.
Yeah, up by one every time.
Now, this is a question that is like a question that we've asked before, but so I know Alex's answer to this. I know my answer to this, but I want your answer to this, Nick.
Okay.
What's your favorite gaming console of all time?
Oh, PC.
Oh,
PC,
interesting. Yeah.
I,
What games?
I built mine. Built mine from scratch, ordered the parts, built it myself. So there's no other answer for me.
That rocks. What kind of games did you sort of like? Would you say are the games of your heart on a PC?
Well, probably anyone that's read Waystations knows that Mass Effect is very, very close to my heart. Absolutely love those games. Basically, like, just I'm a BioWare fangirl. Like, started off with the Knights of the Old Republic games, absolutely hooked on those. Then they led me to Mass Effect, which then led me to Dragon Age. So, but I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 most recently has been what I've been hooked on. So.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's so good, isn't it, to have that sort of commonality of being able to say about like Waystations, to be able to say like it's like this really cool thing that is really, really cool. It's like I feel like games are really handy for that.
Yeah.
Are there any games that you could liken Sea of Souls to?
Not that I can think of. No, I don't know. There's like, I guess, like a bit of sort of pirate element. So I don't know. You could say like Assassin's Creed Black Flag or whatever, but it's not really like a pirate story. But yeah, I think that one's a little bit trickier.
Your answer is so much more sophisticated than mine and Alex's. Mine is like the N64, because I'm just, that was that. I still haven't grown out of it. It's amazing. Alex, go on, share yours for posterity.
Well, yeah, I think I'm trying to remember what my answer was, because so I might give a different one. I don't know. I think I probably said PlayStation. I can't remember if I said PlayStation 1. I think I put PlayStation 1 last time. So let's stick with that, because it's classic.
That was what I kind of grew up with, I suppose, is like the OG Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot games were those were my go-to PlayStation games.
And now I also have a PC that I use for gaming, and now I've got Crash Bandicoot on there. It's like the same game, it just looks prettier, which is living the dream.
Yeah. Warped was my Crash Bandicoot game of choice. Yeah, with the little tiger that could go over the Great Wall of China. Yeah, it was great. It was my sister. My sister had the PlayStation. I had the N64, and we would play it. Basically, we would play the PlayStation so that she could ride the tiger and I could watch. So it was good. It's good.
We also had Crash Team Racing, and me and my sister to this day because we've still got a PlayStation, so sometimes we just like boot up for old time's sake. And the competitive nature the Crash Team Racing brings out in us to this day is just the thing of legends. So,
I still feel like Micro Machines is the most intense game I've ever played in my life, because the controls are constantly shifting and changing on the D-pad, and it's you will be like so tense because you're ahead, and then it's about to blow up, and then it doesn't, and then it's like it's like I've not been as clenched playing a game, I think, ever than Micro Machines on the PlayStation 1. And with that, it takes us into the speed round. Nick, would you care to roll?
Yeah, it's not going to be 12, so it goes 16.
16. Okay, who's your biggest writing influence?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's going to sound like really cliched, but I think you just like absorb bits and pieces from like everyone you read, or if not everyone you read, then the writers that like really resonate with you. Like Robin Hobb, I would maybe say like an influence, as if I could compare myself to Robin Hobb, but like in terms of writing that just like gets to that emotional sort of like visceral reaction in you, that would be what I aspire to anyway.
That's a great answer. I'm sure Robin would love to have her work compared to yours. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. What about you, Alex?
I think if I had to pick, excuse me, potentially pick one as a broad influence, I'm going to go with Steven Erikson, just for like the scope of stuff, the scope of the stories, and like I think depth of the world in a way as well, like the sort of aspect of deep time to the Malazan world. And I say it very deliberately like that because it's one of those ones where I listened to an audiobook and discovered I've been saying that wrong in my head for like 13 books. So I always said Malazan in my head.
That's what I have in
Yeah,
mind.
me too. Yeah.
Listening to the audiobooks of one of the recent ones, apparently it's Malazan. So there we go. We could all be wrong together, or just tell Stephen he's wrong.
Yeah, totally. Anyone who says it's Malazan, even the creator is wrong. Like that is just like, yeah,
It's the
sorry,
problem
Stephen.
with that, you know?
It's Malazan and that's it.
Yeah.
It's like
One of the beauties of like just art is that you give it to the audience and then it's kind of theirs to do what they, and then it's one of the beauties of just fantasy arts, specifically books, is that they will tell me how it's pronounced. That's absolutely fine. I will make up these words and then however they want to pronounce it is fine by me.
I think that the first person who was ever called Dave, they tried to call him Dave, and enough people were just like, no, it's Dave, and that's how it stuck. I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
My writing influence, I'm going to answer, it changes a lot the more that I read. Currently, Aaliyah Whiteley, because I think that she is fearless in her strangeness, and every book of hers is different, and I would love to write like that. I have rolled another 9. I rolled a 2. Let's go back and roll a 2. So, now this doesn't necessarily have to be a book. Okay, what's your favorite sequel? I'll go first because it's the question that fell on me and it's an easy one for me. It is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Love it. So much better than Star Trek the Motion Picture by like 1,000,000%. Nick, what about you?
So just because I mentioned it earlier, probably the second Knights of the Old Republic game. This is going back a while. So the first one is very set up, like your classic Star Wars story, the kind of I am your father twist. And then the second one just deconstructs everything that Star Wars is and really leans into like the sort of nuances and the kind of grey bits in between. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. So that's probably my favourite sequel.
I love it. That is a worthy sequel. That's great. And what about you, Alex?
Do you know, I'm going to say, I thought this before Nick gave her answer, that I was actually thinking, as you mentioned BioWare earlier, I was thinking of saying Mass Effect 2, actually, because that was such a step up in terms of like not only the storyline, but like the gameplay and everything. It was just, like everything that made Mass Effect a good thing turned up to 11. And yeah, I'm sure I've still got the Scientist Solarian song bouncing around in my head, which I will not attempt to give you a rendition of.
I love it. For the final round, we all roll simultaneously, and then we all reveal our numbers. And Nick, as the guest of honor, you get to choose which of the numbers you would like. So after 3, we'll all roll our dice. So 3, 2, 1, give it a roll. I rolled a 15.
4.
14.
Ooh, it's your choice, Nick. 4, 14, or 15?
Let's go 15 because it's not got a 4 in it. My logic.
This is the best question in the world. What's your main character's favorite flavor of ice cream?
I'm sorry, as soon as you said the best question, I knew it was going to have food or ice cream in it. I just knew it.
Yeah. If you'd have gone with like one of the 4s, one of them was if you'd opened a bookshop, what would you call it? And the other one was if you're invited to a convention panel to talk as an expert on one book-related subject, what would it be? But you picked the ice cream, Nick, and I will forever be grateful for that. So yeah, the MC.
Right. So I'll go with Isla from Sea of Souls, and just trying to think of one that I could possibly tie in. I'm going to go with salted caramel.
Oh yes, taste of the sea, right? Because of the salt and the sweetness. Yeah. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Alex, what about you?
Let's go with a character from my work in progress, and he has a dinosaur companion, and he tries not to eat like meat because they're like mentally linked, and that's dangerous ground emotionally for him. So I'm going to go with like, I don't know, blood orange flavor, just for the, let's go with that.
Nice. I'm going to go with a character in the book that I'm editing at the minute is kind of like a sort of like lone rider type man with no name style character. So I think that they probably would just stare ice cream down. So but they would probably have a secret fancy for something like a mint choc chip. Just because, I think a mint choc chip would probably stare them back. So that's that's why I'm going for that one. How vast is the difference between salted caramel being Isla's favorite flavor of ice cream and your favorite ice cream, Nick? What's your favorite?
I mean, I do like a salted caramel. I'm not gonna lie. I really like though. Like I suppose not ice cream, but I love like a lemon sorbet. That would be like of iced desserts. That would be my top tier.
I love it. You can't. Oh, lemon sorbet. Yes. I wish I'd have thought of that for my answer for the thing. That'd have been great. Thank you for joining us, Nick. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better and to get to know your books a little bit better and your process. For anybody who's enjoyed our chat and wants to check out your books and wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on all the social medias, and the handle's the same for all of them, just to keep it nice and simple. So it's just at Scrimscribes. So you can find me on like Instagram. That's probably where I'm at most these days. Still on X, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now and then. And I also make some silly videos on TikTok too.
Awesome. And do you have a website as well?
Yes, that would probably be good to mention as well. Yeah, and that's just NC Scrimgeour.com, and that's got all the details of my books and newsletter and stuff like that.
Perfect. Alex, where can people find you?
Alex S. Bradshaw is, similarly on all the socials, and alexsbradshaw.com. So come find me on, in those places. Happy to chat or talk about ice cream or Selkies running away from dinosaurs. Other folk, monsters versus dinosaurs are available. Very happy to chat.
I love it. And you can find Spotlight Indie here, at Spotlight Indie on all the socials, spotlightindie.co.uk. And as for me, I'll be here, so you can find me here. And thank you, Nick, for joining us. All the best with your gothicness with your next project. Next week, Nick is going to be returning, where she's going to help us prove that there's no such thing as a stupid question. So tune in next week, and we will see you then.
Thanks again.